for me it is irrelevant, but let's say for the Kashmirian tradition, as far as my teacher expressed it, Tantra is a very appropriate way to explore life according to our day and age, because it is simultaneously a non-dual tradition, but at the same time it is a multifold tradition. That means that all aspects of life are linked to this four feeling of truth. So it is very different than the progressive or dualistic approach. We tend to demand a change in life. The Kashmirian tradition only demands listening toward life. So when you talk about Tantra, we are specific about the Kashmirian Tantra, because in the South India and in the Northern India, the word Tantra is used for traditions which are very different, which are entitled to the word Tantric, but it's a very different resonance. And even in Kashmir, there are some lines of dualistic Tantra, but my teacher referred to non-dualistic line, so which can unfold in all walk of life. And the body is the main object of our perception, so of course it has some ramification in the exploration of the body feeling. I have not the body come from Vedantic tradition. In Kashmir, we are the body, but we are the body too. The body is one layer of expression, but generally we don't know this layer because what we call the body actually is not the body, it's a reaction toward the body. So most people feel their body as heavy, as tense, and think that this feeling is the body feeling. For us, this feeling is a reaction. When you're very young, something happens, some violence happens, and you create a tension, you tense your body to survive this situation. And slowly in life, you begin to keep all the creation you use to survive in violence or in other situations in life. And then the body becomes slowly a reaction. And the body, in fact, is used by most people as a way of fighting, as a way of defending yourself or asserting oneself. So this body of defending and asserting is not the body. It's a reaction. So before to know what we are not, we must know what it is we're talking about. So the inquiring about the body is just to open oneself to discover what really is the body. Is it this feeling of heaviness, of dullness, of tension? This feeling I use for aggression, for defense? Or is there something else? So this must become an experience and not a thinking process. So body work as a space for this discovery. The pattern may dissolve, but there's nothing to transcend. The transcendence is a concept which is improper in tantric Shaivism, because there is neither transcendence nor immanence. There is only intensity. So when you see that what you feel the body is a mental creation in a way that you receive a letter from your lover and you feel very light, and then the next day you receive a letter that finally decides to sleep with your neighbor instead of you, and you feel very heavy. So this feeling is not the body feeling, it's a reaction feeling. But generally we tend to think that our body is this lightness or this heaviness. No, this is just emotional reaction. So we must, in a certain way, be passionate by this exploration to see what could be my body when neither I am opposing something or striving towards something, defending something. So Tantra is a practice, it's not a philosophy. So the exploration go in that direction. And that, of course, has only a value because it transposes in all walk of life in a way that, for example, most people, when they do body work, if they bend forward, they feel a tension in the back. And if you ask them, are you tense? They will say, yes, I feel my back tense. I am tense. With the exploration, when you realize that when your wrist is tense, when your fist is tense, you're not tense. The fist is tense. When the fist is open, I'm not more open. My fist is open. My fist is tense. My fist is open. My back can be tense. I'm not tense. My back is tense. And when you realize that in a exploration, like your body, your back is tense, but you're not tense, that will transfer to the level of emotion. When you feel fear, you're not afraid. When you feel sadness, you're not sad. And it is because you feel sadness without being sad that you go and see Rigoletto, you pay $200, and when at the end of the play Rigoletto, the daughter of Rigoletto is killed, you cry, it's very sad, you come out, and you said it was beautiful. What was beautiful? Feeling the sadness without being sad. What is beautiful in fear? Feeling fear without being afraid. That's why people jump from a bridge with an elastic around their legs, try to feel fear, and they sleep very well. But if you're afraid, you block the feeling of the fear, and that can remain. If you're sad, you block the feeling of the sadness, and that will remain. If you're tense, you block the feeling of the tension, and that will remain. But if you feel the tension will unfold by itself, because the very nature of fact is movement, and the tension which unfolds by its very nature quit is limitation as tension. So for us, the body work has only a value if it transposes in the emotional level. That's why the way we work look like all the school of yoga. We all do the same position, but the way we do it is different. That we don't do it striving towards something. We do it to feel. And when you feel oneself aloof from what you feel, and that will transpose in emotional life. And the sadness is only there in the moment. When you come out of the theater, you're not more sad. You feel happy. Today was so beautiful. What was beautiful? To feel the sadness. But if you're sad, you block the sadness. Emotion has twofold. Either you're afraid of something and you cannot move. Either you feel fear and you move faster. So the first emotion, the first appropriation blocks the life. I'm afraid of this, I cannot move. The second, I feel the fear in my belly and my chest, I move faster. The adrenaline, all the chemical part of the body make me alive. If I have to strike, I strike harder. I jump faster when I feel fear. But if I'm afraid, I cannot move. So only what reduces our abilities is eventually given away. Emotion will always remain, but as power, as beauty, as expression, not as hindrance that one should get rid of to find freedom or whatever. Emotion and sensation is we should not try to find understanding through the words, because words are kind of agreement between you and I. I don't know what you mean by emotion. You will never know what I mean by emotion. So when we say we agree on something very superficial. So understanding can only come from being understanding, which means we don't understand words. That means understanding don't belong to the mind, because the mind only functions with words. Without words, you cannot think. We only think with words. That's why language is very important to see its own limitation. But even sacred language like Sanskrit, Chinese, or Arabic, where the structure, the semantic of the language is different, still, when Shankara wrote his text, his thinking of Sanskrit was a big part of his expression. If you will have know another language, his text, his philosophy would have been different. We think according to how we speak. So when you see that, it is very important that one, in a certain way, open to understanding without word, because other way, what we call understanding is just a reduction to the immensity of our own limitation. So there's nothing to understand. You give up understanding in a certain way. So I can never understand what this means, because this means nothing. Meaning are a kind of defense, which are a role to play to point to what is beyond defense. But as such, one can never understand something. It refers to celebration. When you realize you don't need to build anything in your life, that you don't need to achieve anything in your life, that you need to defend anything in your life, in a certain way what remains is a feeling of celebration, is a thanking. Not thanking something, not thanking somebody, but just the very fact of thanking. So for us, perception actually is thanking. Thinking is celebration. When thinking is used as an expression of this feeling. But generally thinking is used as a defense. We use our fist or our elbow to fight, and we use our thinking to fight. I agree, I disagree, you're right, you're wrong. So thinking has become a fighting tool. But as such, it doesn't need to be. Thinking is, in a traditional way, an expression of truth. That's why if you read the text of Master Eckhart or Ibn Arabi or the great sage, their thoughts come from silence. So they bring you back to silence if you don't accent the semantic or the meaning. They have rhythm who come from silence. So Kashmiri Tantras reduce the importance of formulation. But this is not specific, because you'd find the same in all traditional expression. Actually, it is not. The only thing that the expression have to be adapted to the modern world. Many elements are taken for granted in Kashmir, or were taken, because now, because of the political situation, it is different. The Hindus have been expelled from Kashmir by the Islamic situation. It's not the same here. Here people live with the fantasy of a democratic world. They want to be happy getting married or having children or being rich or being recognized. So it's not that different, but it's expressed differently. In a way, in India, it was from the very beginning, at least intellectually recognized that the aim of life was not becoming something, but recognizing something. So here one should adapt. And it is a light adaptation, because it doesn't make a big difference. Because when you want a new husband, a new wife, a new dog, a new car, a new guru, or when you want freedom, actually what you want is this wholeness, which, because of your culture, because of your stupidity or your intelligence, you project onto a woman, onto a man, onto a guru, onto a tradition, onto a car. But actually you don't want the husband, because when you get it, you will want another one. You don't want the car, because when you have it, you want another one. So what we want is not what we want. So even if I think the goal of my life is to have a white dog, I want the same thing as the sadhu in the Himalayas. So what we pretend to want is unimportant, because the longing is the same. Just at some point the longing becomes more clear. So it doesn't, there is no expansion of energy in some objective direction. Seeking is an expression of truth. It's not a way. Abhinavagupta in the Tantra Loka is very clear that all the all the yoga practice are an expression of truth. Yoga do not bring to truth, but truth expresses itself through yoga. So the way is an expression. Sadhana is an. It is because you forfeit silence that your life becomes sadhana. But to do sadhana to reach silence is a wrong way of thinking. The very fact you look for something is a proof you already feel it, you already have it. The very fact you ask a question proves you know the answer. The answer is before the question. You can only ask a question because you fulfill the answer. You cannot ask a question. So for the sadhana, somebody who look for God is looking come from God directly. It's just an expression. But the looking do not bring you to what you look for. What you look for is behind you. The way you express yourself is seem as a seeking maybe at the beginning, but will end up being a celebration, or what cannot be sought, what cannot be found. You are you are what needs to be found. You're not the finder of anything. The truth is in back of us, not in front of us. That's why it can never be reached, it can never be understood, it can never be felt, it can never be sensed. Because we are what needs to be sensed, felt, and seen. We are not the seeker. We are what is seek. We are what is sought. So, sadhana and seeking and expression is for us is a direct transposition of the fulfilling of truth in the realm of spiritual dynamism. Actually, again, it will be a limitation to try to say what is truth, what is consciousness, what is silence, because you and I are going to agree that it is this, but we agree on two words which have different meaning for us. According to culture, to mind, we will understand the word in different ways. Oh yes, we agree, we don't agree, we just pretend. So truth is a word used to describe the fact that even if you have 3 wives and 3 husbands and 3 cars and something is not totally satisfied and you want something else, and whatever you want, when you get it, very soon you want something else. So this longing for what seems to be something for a long time can be called truth or consciousness, but the word do not reveal what it is. The word make it more objective. That's why in Sanskrit we use the word anama, what has no name. So whatever name we use it is a pedagogical tool. It's what you cannot question. You can give up everything, but this longing at some point you cannot give it up, because it is what we want in every action, in every thought, in every perception. You can never give up this fulfilling. Saying there is no truth, or saying there is a truth are both thoughts and they're both respectful, but they refer to the same thing. According to my brain, to my culture, if I'm communist, I will say there is no truth, that's the truth. If I'm a Buddhist, I will say the truth is Trikaya, the truth is Buddhahood. Why not? We're talking about the same thing, with different clause. So at some point you stop accenting the clause, and you feel in a way what it means, without making it objective meaning, but it always remains a fulfilling. But what changes is that at the beginning you feel relaxed, and more you inquire about the body, and more you realize your only tension. That at the beginning you feel still, and more you inquire about the mind, and more you realize you're not still really. So you just discover all your limitation. more and more clearly. There's ever a room for appropriation. In this line, you cannot become something, you don't become a guru, you don't become enlightened, you see your limitation. This very fact is our freedom. There is no other. When you see your pretension, this is what is called humility. But there is no room to be humble, but in pretension. So the seeing is more and more intense. It's endless because perception is endless. But it's not endless in time, because time is what comes and goes. So slowly the accent is shift from time to intensity, in which time appear. So there's really no evolving, nothing changed. But you don't accent things anymore. In a way, Jean-Claude has two teachings. He was teaching Advaita Vedanta for the very bright people, and Tantra for the very stupid one. So Advaita is an holistic teaching, which is only proper for people with a high level of mental discrimination, which are immensely purified. That means we have no link with emotional life. When you read Shankara, when you read the commentary of the Mandukya Upanishad from Gaudapada, they don't talk about your wife and your children and fear. No, they talk about real stuff. So that's for the exception. And you need the presence of somebody really in his own absence. You cannot inhabit this openness on your own, according to the tradition. Tantra is for the stupid. Tantra do not need anything but being more and more open to the fact that we are constantly in reaction, that we are constantly in pretension, that we are constantly in thinking, in defending, in trying. So this teaching was very stimulating. And it doesn't require any teacher. The teacher is life. And there's no room to achieve anything there. So according to the level of his students, Jean had used one or the other teaching. Of course, it was not black and white, but still, there's a kind of strong line. The dualistic, non-dualistic teaching exclude everything to concentrate on the intensity. The tantric teaching include everything because there's nothing else than truth. So there's nothing to exclude. It is democratic. The other is elitist. That's the tantric point of view. From the Vedantic point of view, they see it a different way. And there's no contradiction, because Indian traditions are multifold. It may seem in opposition, it is not. Vedic tradition is a very, it's considered for the elite. When you read the Upanishad, they don't give you advice how to lead your life. They don't tell you what to eat. They don't tell you how to make love. They don't tell you, they tell you to concentrate on the self. It is beautiful for the people who have these abilities. Because most people may concentrate on the self when everything goes well, but when their wife sleeps with a neighbor, when their child gets killed, or when they have a cancer, the concentration is weaker. It's weaker. Then the tantric tradition has a room to play. But if one has this ability to abide in the very self of oneself, it is beautiful. Nothing else is needed. But most people can only have this full feeling when the surrounding is fine. But if the world breaks down, if the body breaks down, if the wife breaks down, or the husband breaks down, or the child breaks down, their meditation or their own non-identity is weakened. So then the tantric tradition has a role to play, to make you see that the very fact of what's happening is nothing else than what you were looking for. That consciousness has no form. It has a form of what appears in the moment. And it is our thinking mind who should create a separation. But that should be felt and not thought. So there's no opposition, it's just a different orientation. There's no such thing as the body. Body is a thought. So to try to find oneself in the body is like to try oneself in a car or in a relationship. It's a fantasy. Body is only there when it is thought. In deep sleep there is no body, but you, every time you go to sleep, you're so happy in the night to go to sleep. So, and to try to pretend I am nowhere or I am everywhere, whatever. It's very sweet, but fact of life challenge this evidence, if it's not a real evidence. It could be a real evidence. Ramana Maharshi never done any yoga. Maharaj neither, Lama neither. The great sage, none of the sages have done yoga. Master Eckhart in Arabi never stand on the head, and they were not missing anything. And you know so many people who do yoga day and long, and well, we wonder why. So it is not there, it's not against or for, it is just it's a question of intensity. Body is feeling, and what do we call life is our body. We don't meet life, we meet only our body. So it's a kind of respect in a way to listen, not to listen to the body, because the body is a concept, but to listen to what we imagine as a body. And with listening, well, the preconception we have of the body will change. And if the preconception we have of our body will change, the way we see the world change, because the way we create the world is just a projection of the way we feel our body. There's no difference. If I feel my body hard, the world is hard. If I feel violence, I feel the word violent. We can know only the projection of our body. The word is only the projection of our mental limitation, affectivity, and so on. If you were rape all you use, you see the word from that point of view. If you were caress and love all you use, you'll see the word from this point of view. We don't see the word. We only see our emotion. So Tantra, in a way, is just acknowledging this fact and inquiring for the sake of it, because life is inquiring. There's no goal. You don't become anything. You're never going to change anything. You're never going to achieve anything. But the beauty of life is the intensity of life is asking without asking without expecting an answer. If you expect an answer, you live in projection. You cannot be present. So my teacher used to say, waiting without waiting. There's a waiting, which is aloofness, which is openness, but without waiting will be a direction, going away from aloofness. So myself, I use the word intensity. It's a word, it has no meaning, but it is the same thing. So there's no contradiction. For some people, the body work will be a distraction because they could not approach it without the intention. So for them, it will be a dispersion. For some people, not to do the body work will be a dispersion because it's too easy to read the Upanishad when your husband is faithful, when you're in good health, when you have some money, when your country is at peace. So you must see things in a more creative way. So, and it's not that we have a choice. Things unravel the way they need to be. So there's no contradiction. Vietii and Vivekananda and Ramakrishna and his guru. And there was a picture of a very fat man, a big belly like me, but a big mustache, incredible eyes and a big sword. And so he was putting the kumkum, and one day we asked him, Maharaj, who is this man? He said, oh, this man is a man who killed all the English in my village. So people see that here in the fantasy world. But the Maharaj was very creative. Non-duality is not something. It's and bhajan is not something else. It's just the intensity of life. It is our mind. We want to decide it is dual, non-dual, dual, non-dual, non-dual, dual. And it's not only Western, because in India we have 5 Vedantic traditions, not 3. There's a non-dualist, dualistic, half dualist, non-dualistic, half non-dualist, dualistic, non-dualist, dualistic, non-dualist, dualistic, non-dualist. Vijishtadvaita, and so on. So Indians are like that too. In Kashmir Shivaism is endless. That's the level of possibility. So that's the beauty of mind, like this. So many kind of music and birds and thoughts, it's the same thing. But it's never a contradiction. That's the beauty of India, that there's nothing is considered superior. It's only here that we want to know what is the best, which means nothing, but the best for who, the best for me, but this me has no meaning. There's no best, but everything has a space, and so there's no, that's why in India, if you're a prostitute, if you're a banker, if you're a guru, if you're a pandit, it is the same, because that's your way to express your life, your inquiry, but nothing is higher. It's just for a short moment, it seems like that. That's why you don't change job, because you change job if you think from a prostitute to become a banker, maybe it's better. It is not. So you stay where you are. You don't lose any energy trying to become anything, and you focus on the intensity. Then the prostitute could be a jnanese, the banker could be a jnanese, and the sadhu could be a jnanese, why not? But there's no way which is better. Abhinavagupta refused the initiation to anybody who would wear the Shiva marks, even in the 10th centuries. So there's no best anywhere. That's very the roots of Indian culture. Yes, because the ego wants to know what is best for me. What is best for me? Shall I sleep with this one or that one? Shall I marry this one or that one? Shall I go there or there? Who is the best guru? Who is the best book? What is the best car? The best for what? One must inquire at some point. Who am I talking about? What am I talking about? It's a fantasy. So any situation will bring you back to seeing you're just pretending, I better marry this one, then I know I better divorce that one. We're only living in this fantasy. In India, you don't get married for you. You get married because, in a way, that's life. I'm not saying that one should follow Indian tradition, because as all traditions, they have their beauty and their weakness. But it is not that stupid. That's the way we think from here. Because it cuts you all dynamic towards something. If you're born in India, you cannot become anything. So you have to, the only space available to you is intensity. Everything else is cut for you. You're not married for love. You don't marry for any reason. Whatever you do is not what you want to do. So you have to find the freedom not in doing. So, but of course, it has its limit too. It has its frustration too, it has its violence too, and it is what it is. But the idea that when people do here what is best for myself, what tradition shall I follow, must be seen at some point as the ultimate misleading attitude. I'm not there to follow the tradition I like. The tradition for me is the one who's going to challenge me. And this is what I'm going to dislike. Because what I like is what gives me security. Security belongs to the ego. So I must follow the tradition I dislike the most. That's the good one for me. If I dislike it, that means I fulfill, I'm challenged by it. That's what I should do. What I want to do is always the wrong path. What I don't want to do is what I should do. That's the tantric way. If I don't want it, it's because I have a defense. This defense stops me from breathing life. To see the defense, I must encounter it. That's the only way. But generally, when I have a defense, I go somewhere else. Or I follow this tradition because it's easy, it fits me, I like it, I feel comfortable. That's the ego talking. We must only go where we don't want to go. That's the right way.